And people that have similar trauma histories actually benefit from my healing in an invisible way, just by just being together. And then it opens me to the spiritual dimension, and it allows me more light to come in and to contribute more.
Welcome to Point of Relation with Thomas Hübl, a podcast that illuminates the path to collective healing at the intersection of science and mysticism. This is the Point of Relation.
Today's episode was previously recorded for an online event with Thomas. Although it took place at an earlier date, the insights and discussion remain relevant.
One department of spirituality is ethics, alignment, honesty, authenticity, living a life that preserves life, that sees life as sacred. So there's one big chunk of training and teaching that relates to ethics, and we'll talk about this in a moment. There is another one that speaks about awareness, raising awareness. So mindfulness, for example, the practice that we did before with our body is raising awareness. We can raise awareness into the higher realms. We can raise awareness in the way we live in the world. We can raise awareness of our ancestors, of the multidimensionality of our being. Whenever there's something that I'm not aware of, it's so me that I don't see it. In the moment, through something, this might be through another person, circumstances, life experiences, something that we read, some clicks we have, some insights. Suddenly, something that is me becomes visible. So many people transcend, that's transcendence, transcend a certain aspect of themselves. I become more aware. When I'm more aware, I'm already seeing something that I couldn't see before. It becomes an object in my consciousness. And my consciousness grows through that process, but also what I can presence grows. But that's not enough. We need to take that even further and then include what we transcended and integrate it into the overall flow. That's why sometimes people say, yeah, it's difficult for me to be with less conscious people. That's a typical sentence that is a result of transcendence without inclusion. Because when we do not include and integrate what we transcend, then we are able to feel it, to see it, but we still a bit in opposition to it. So it creates like a tension. Wisdom is that it goes full circle and it includes what has been transcended into love. That's why awareness sometimes can have a sense of coldness because it's aware, but it's not yet integrated as wisdom. Wisdom is generous, awareness not necessarily. So in order to develop love that is not bound to a condition, I need transcendence and the inclusion of the former level of development in the higher level of development. That's why when we meet a person that lives in a higher state of consciousness, that is wisdom, we are included. That's what it means. It's a bigger circle that is including It's not I look at another person because the other person can run a marathon and I can't. No, wisdom doesn't work like this. Wisdom is a bigger circle of life that includes all the former circles of development. That's why sometimes some coaches might say, oh, it's hard to bring certain principles, for example, into the mainstream or into the business world, which on the one side might be true, but on the other hand, is also often a reflection of transcendence without inclusion. That the resistance is not in the outer world, but is actually a reflection of what I didn't include yet. And that's why embodied wisdom is transcend and include. And that's also true for humility. Humility is a sign of wisdom. It's transcended, it's included. That's why I can be generous. That's why I don't need to have a standpoint. That's why I don't need to be right. That's why I can include the trigger, but it's not triggering me because I transcended and included that part already. So it meets presence, not my prior trauma. And so humility is not a state of less self-confidence. It's a state of transcendence and inclusion. And that's why it's a state of generosity, warmth, love, and it can intervene in situations with generosity that is not polarizing. And sometimes when we are aware of something, we kind of try to intervene, or we try to change, or we try to teach people about higher consciousness. But actually, there's a resistance that comes back because it's not yet fully included. So the process of include and transcend is very important, and is also part of the fact why we can bow down without that it's coming from pleasing, that's coming from a lack of, from fear or a lack of self-confidence. It has nothing to do with it. True humility is an act of generosity. It's a bowing because we are centered, not because we are off center. And that's why I'm able to not know and receive a blessing. Humility is the bowing is also, I don't know the divine. I don't know higher consciousness, but I'm here to bow down and receive it as a blessing. And then that blessing becomes wisdom. And we can also experience that when, and I'm sure many of us have those experiences when we feel that sometimes we are saying things. Many people that work with people as therapists or coaches or notice that when we suddenly say things that we didn't plan to say, but they meet the moment. There's a precision in it. It comes like people say, it comes. Yeah, I didn't think about it. I just said it. And that openness is also a part of when integration allows an openness that allows information to slowly begin to flow through. So suddenly I have insights or I have intuitive hits that I know something that I cannot know, that is not part of my regular rational knowledge. But it meets the moment. And that's a sign of openness and more fluidity. That's a great sign of a spiritual practice. We all get triggered at times. We all want to improve maybe our capacity of our nervous system to stay related, to include triggers, to learn how to transform triggers into movements, to be more resourced. And so we designed a 7-day path how through different levels of practices to activate different parts of ourselves to learn that, to go through a step-by-step process and harvest step-by-step different levels of resources that we can have to train that function of regulation, to look at where am I dysregulated, where can I tap into parts of myself that can hold those dysregulated parts more and transform them and learn from them, not just to try to get rid of it or not have any challenges, but to develop more relational capacity to the events that are happening in our life. And that gives us more freedom. That gives us more freedom to become more fluid within the beautiful moments of our life, but also within the challenging moments of our life. And that increases our inner freedom, and that helps us to choose new possibilities to do certain things differently, or simply to experience more regulation, more also groundedness, to sleep better, to recharge our battery better, to meditate differently. So there are many, many benefits that, of course, come with a deeper sense of regulation. And if you want to be part of our reset and you want to stick with us throughout the 7 days, so please, this is going to be a great journey, and please enjoy the journey, and you will soon get access to what we have designed for you to go through this deeper practice. So I wish you a beautiful day, and I wish you many blessings for your life.
Visit the link in our show notes or go to mysticcafeonline.com to join our global membership community, the Mystic Cafe, and participate in Nourishing Your Nervous System, a 7-day reset. The 7-day path of practices will begin with a live event with Thomas on February 16th. We hope to see you there.
And now today I want to speak a little bit about the divine law, and also invite us to follow me on something. When we look at our nervous system, and our nervous system goes back to our own conception. So there's this one cell, a conception, but this cell goes back to a sperm and an egg, and that goes back to our parents, and they go back to their conception. So there is actually an ongoing line of light. There's an ongoing line of life that never stopped. When we just look at the DNA, we learn to kind of decode the DNA, but the DNA in itself is an alive process. So through every conception and every life and every conception and every life, there is a line, there are many lines. There's a big stream of light. And I want us to take a moment to contemplate that, because often we might lose a bit the sense that we are sitting, and not only sitting, we are composed out of thousands and thousands and thousands of years of unbroken light. Because the light never stopped fully. Even if some of our ancestors passed away, but still we are here. And the fact that we are here means there are some streams of light that are unbroken. So there, when we look back, there is a long river of lives and lives and lives and lives. And in the core, There's a stream of light. There's a data highway from conception to conception to conception to conception to conception. And that we feel that life wants to create, first of all, the continuity of that stream. Because that stream for life is sacred. So life wants to continue that stream. And life wants to make sure that the data transfer works well from one generation to the next. So we could say the divine law describes how to pass on information, data, from one generation to the next with the least interference that can disturb that process. A modern way to say that is like a healthy attachment, even a healthy kind of development of an embryo in a womb is a way to preserve light and life more and to create better circumstances to flourish. So on the one hand, the divine light law describes the transition between generations. And it also says that healthier ecosystems are more conducive to flourishing. So how do we live in respect of human rights? Because the mystical traditions know that every one of us lives in and as that vertical line of light. And if anybody interferes with that light, so every one of us has a stream of light through the central channel, through our central nervous system. And as long as they are free, that's what is freedom. This. When somebody interferes with that stream of somebody else and hurts somebody, in that moment, these two lives become entangled. Like with a puppet, with the string puppets, when they get entangled, the string puppet cannot move anymore properly. So we are all in society respecting human rights, the right to be, to become, to belong, is freedom. But trauma, interfering, hurting somebody, immediately copy pastes the shadow trauma into the transgressor. So both, instead of being free, are entangled. So transgression or perpetration, so transgression is hurting the flow of light, copy pasting the shadow trauma of it into the transgressor's line of light and creating an entanglement. So big situations, like big karmic situations that are happening or happened in history, create that kind of entanglement. That's what we call more collective trauma or cultural trauma or also individual trauma. And every time that entanglement happens, freedom is being lost. So free choice is being lost and destiny is implemented. So there's a part of life that is not free anymore. And healing is, or restoration, to restore, and today we talk about individual trauma, to restore individual trauma has multiple effects. First of all, when somebody heals, when we heal trauma, we show it's possible. So when we see it in somebody else, it has an ecosystemic effect that other people also see it's possible. So it's enabling. The person that heals is suddenly less reactive, more connected, more responsive, more responsible, has more vitality, more agency, is infusing the relational network with more connected and related energy. So the relational network is also growing. And then restoration is not the way back to how I was before the trauma. No, the impact of the trauma, the energy that I need to activate to heal it. The healing is maturing my being. So I become wiser if I integrate my trauma. And so not only do I become wiser because my perspective grows, I had a challenge, an adversity. I went through it. I integrated it. And I become a psychoactive particle. My nervous system, my body becomes psychoactive. It sends out healing into the ecosystem. So not only is it enabling, not only do I create healthier ecosystemic impact, I'm actually becoming psychoactive. And people that have similar trauma histories actually benefit from my healing in an invisible way, just by just being together. And then it opens me to the spiritual dimension, and it allows me more light to come in and to contribute more. And so every time we restore something, it's not just for me, it's actually an amazing ecosystemic win-win. It's an amazing business case. Sounds strange, but it's an amazing impact, an amazing contribution to society because it upgrades many parts. And so when we look at transgression, and that's something maybe everybody can transgression and trauma, obviously. So because we often carry both. And the transgression doesn't have to be a massive transgression that we committed. It can be smaller things in our life where we learn through re-owning transgression. We create freedom. Disowning transgression means entanglement. When I'm not truthful, when I lie because I feel ashamed, I feel scared, and I lie, I'm transgressing. When I re-own that and I come clear, maybe it's uncomfortable because I need to go through the discomfort that I avoided in the first place, but it's actually liberating. I re-own, yes, I did that. Yes, I wasn't honest. I want to come clear. It's uncomfortable for me. I feel ashamed or whatever, and I own it, yes. That takes the act back, helps me to alchemize my own emotions, but it clarifies the space between us. It allows for more this vertical connection. It then allows for more flow because vertical openness creates ecosystemic health. Vertical entanglement creates ecosystemic stagnation. So for all of us, it's good to look because sometimes it's easier to look, okay, where is my trauma? So that's important, but it's also good to look at where are my transgressions? As I said, this can be daily things that happen in our life that are not massive transgressions, but it can also be my participation in massive transgressions. Next time we will look at how we also look at our ancestral transmission and ancestors' lives on the side of trauma, on the side of transgressions. But the honesty to come back and really be willing to explore how am I individually, ancestrally, collectively part of transgressions? What's my individual, ancestral, and collective trauma that I carry? Both. And what are the resources, individual resources, ancestral resources, collective resources that are available for me? So these three questions are very important questions to look at, to also to take time to contemplate on. Not because it's good or bad, because it's my natural exploration to grow my deepest humanity. It's that which enables me to bow down. It's that which enables me to become generous. It's that which enables me to live a more and more honest life. And in one way, to live a more and more simple life that can host more and more complexity. There's a simplicity in refining ethics. But ethics is another word for the flow of light, is another word for fluidity and open transparency, openness of the inner energy channels that create a connection between me, my ancestors, and so on. So the more flow we experience, the more of the world can land in us. And I think that's a very, very important exploration for all of us. And it's not just a one-time exploration, because as we know, we are constantly shedding layers. So it seems like, oh, I did something already. But then when I look deeper and I do it again, I shed another layer that I wasn't even aware of before. And then I shed another layer that I wasn't aware of before. But every time I shed a layer, I am more connected to everything. I'm more connected to myself. I'm more connected to you. I'm more connected to the world. I'm more in the interdependence. Not looking at life, I'm in life. I'm in it, but consciously. And so that when we come back to certain questions again and again, that's actually an important process, because we are shedding layers and we are peeling layers so that we can heal more.
Thanks for listening to Point of Relation with Thomas Hübl. Stay connected and get updates about new episodes by visiting our website, pointofrelationpodcast.com, and by subscribing to the Thomas Hübl YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share about us with your community on social media. Thank you. We appreciate your support.